Okay, let's talk about Adam and Eve. We all know the story, right? The beginning of humanity. But what if it's not the beginning at all? What if it's just one tiny chapter in a history that is way older, way stranger, and, well, not entirely human? Today, we're diving into a text that claims to have the answers, and trust me, they're stranger than you can imagine. So, where are we getting all this from? Well, our guide on this journey is this book right here, Who Lived Before the Adam and Eve Story by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Now, this text, it pretty much throws out everything you think you know about history and religion. It argues there's a huge, forgotten chapter in our story. So let's just dive right in with the big question it asks. Yeah, the title itself lays it all out, doesn't it? Who lived before the Adam and Eve story? If they weren't the first, then who, or maybe what, was here before them? And according to this book, the answer isn't some simple footnote in history. Oh no, it's a massive cosmic saga. All right, to even start to get our heads around this, we've got to rewind the clock. And I'm not talking about a few thousand years. We're talking millions. The whole argument in this book is that the biblical timeline most of us are familiar with, it barely even scratches the surface of Earth's real and much, much deeper history. So what's the big idea? It's actually pretty simple, but it changes everything. The book says, and I'm quoting here, many different life forms existed on the planet Earth, long before the presence of man and long before your Adam and Eve. Think about that for a second. It's basically saying we weren't the first ones to this party, and maybe we're not even the most important. Okay, so if it wasn't us, who was it? The book calls them extraterrestrials, but hold on, it has its own very specific definition. It actually breaks the word down. Extra, meaning more than or beyond what is usual, and terrestrials, which it defines as star-like beings connected to Earth. You see the difference? This isn't just about aliens visiting. It reframes them as something way more fundamental to our planet's story. But here's where it gets really wild. According to this text, these beings aren't just some ancient history lesson. The book makes this radical claim that they are still here, right now, living among us, and that all of us are just unwitting actors in a cosmic drama that's been going on for ages. And look, we're not just talking about one kind of alien here. The book lays out this whole roster. It's like a galactic who's who, and every species has its own agenda. You've got some you've probably heard of, like the Greys and the Nordics. But then there are others, like the reptilian Dracos and the, get this, benevolent Rizikians. So let's look at a couple of the major players. On the left, you've got the Greys. The book says they're a reptilian hybrid, and yeah, they're the ones supposedly behind all the abductions. Then on the right, the Dracos. These guys are described as a powerful winged reptilian elite, and they're supposedly pretty aggressive. So, not exactly friendly neighbors. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. The book really contrasts those guys with others, like the Riskians you see on the left. They're described as these kind, loving parents to humanity's ancestors. A totally different vibe, right? And then on the right, you see just how diverse this all is. We've got the Dunak-Yal and the Taros, who are said to be subterranean beings with these really distinct, elongated skulls. It suggests that life isn't just on the Earth, but inside it too. Okay, so you're probably thinking, if all these beings are real, why don't we know about them? Well, the book has an answer for that. It claims our entire reality, especially our religious beliefs, our history, has been deliberately manipulated. This next part is all about what it calls the Great Deception. All right, just picture the image of God. For a lot of people, especially in the West, it's Michelangelo's painting, right? The wise old man with the beard on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Well, according to this book, that very image, that's the cornerstone of this massive deception. The text doesn't beat around the bush. It says flat out that this image is far from the image of the Neteru, Elohim, Anunnaki. And those names, those are the real extraterrestrial entities it claims are responsible for creating us. And it goes even deeper than that, trying to redefine the word God itself. The book argues that God isn't a name, it's an acronym. G for Gomar, which means wisdom, O for Oz, strength, and D for Dubar, beauty. So in this view, when people say the word God, they're not talking about a single person. They're describing a set of qualities. And to back up this idea of multiple creators, the book points right to the Bible, to the book of Genesis. It highlights that the original Hebrew word used for God in the story of creation, Elohim, is actually a plural word. The book presents this as linguistic proof hidden in plain sight that our creators were a group of beings, gods, not a single god. So, all of this, the hidden history, the religious deception, it all leads to the book's most startling claim. This isn't just something that happened a long time ago and then it was over. Nope. This is the setup for what's happening right now, a quiet, covert occupation of planet Earth. And the book really does not mince words. This image is taken right from its pages. The headline says it all. Alien invasion of Earth is already over. The implication is chilling. They've already won. And now, as the caption says, we're just waiting for the screaming to begin. So how on earth could it take over this huge happen in secret? Well, the book claims it was all done through infiltration, using artificial life forms, androids, synthetics, clones, that look exactly like us. It even makes the absolutely shocking claim that a former U.S. president, Jimmy Carter, was replaced by something it calls an organic robotoid while he was in office. And we're not talking about ships in the sky. Their presence is described as total. They're not just visiting from some other galaxy. According to this text, they are living right here with us, on the surface, deep down inside a hollow Earth, and even in our oceans. They're not visitors anymore. They're co-inhabitants. Okay, so where is all this going? What's the end game? The final part of the book's story is basically a prophecy. It outlines a coming shift that's supposed to bring this whole hidden conflict out into the open and, well, change the course of human history forever. And it even gives us a timeline for this endgame. It points to the Roswell incident in 1947 as the start of a whole new phase. Then, it claims that in 1970, a savior figure it calls Nieder Ea Frey T Atum-Re came to Earth to help wake us up from this spell of sleep. And it was all building toward this massive cataclysm predicted for 1999, caused by something called the entropy effect and the return of the legendary planet Nibiru. But here's the twist. This catastrophe isn't supposed to be some random, chaotic apocalypse. The book frames it as a planned event with a very specific purpose, to act as a kind of cosmic final exam. It's designed to forcibly awaken and spiritually educate the descendants of the original extraterrestrials who are living on Earth right now. So, that's the world this text lays out for us. It's a reality where our history, our biology, even our gods, are all part of this incredibly elaborate deception. And it really just leaves you with one massive, lingering question. If everything you've ever been taught about the world is a lie, then what in the world is the truth?